PlayStation 5 remote. I recommend this remote to anybody that has a PlayStation 5 so you don't have to use your controller constantly killing the battery life of your controller. This remote works great if you have a smart TV. It controls your smart TV, turns up the volume and powers it off. This remote is highly recommended for the PlayStation 5.
So this is going to be a very quick review over the Sony PS5 Media Remote. Some of the things that I love about this, as I mentioned in the written review that I posted with this, is just how intuitive this is, number one, and number two, the functionality of lack of requiring line of sight, right? A very common issue with a lot of remotes is having to point the remote at the device that you want to interact with, and then of course having to have a perfect uninterrupted line of sight between the remote and the said device. So whether you have kids walking by, you have animals walking by, or if you're in a recliner and next thing you know you're pushed back and you don't have a necessarily clear picture towards the device, you end up finding is a lot of this kind of maneuvering, trying to figure out how to get a direct line towards the device itself so you can change channel or pick a different movie or raise or lower the volume. So thing I love the most about this remote is the fact that it is wirelessly connecting. So there's no more requirement to be pointing. Now, I will make one comment here. I notice that sometimes with the volume, it does need to be kind of pointed in a general direction. So something else to note is even if you do or you are connecting to additional media devices other than the PS5 and you need to have some level of line of sight, the IR signaler rather is really, really powerful. So when pointing, I can modify the volume even if I'm pointing the remote control straight up. In contrast to, for example, as I mentioned in the written review, with my Xbox media controller, it was miserable. Barely ever did I have access to, or could I ever actually actuate the different channels and what have you. Finally, is a feature that comes to the bottom. You can barely even see it. They integrated it so well into the body of the device itself. But there is a tiny button right here, and when you push that button in, then the backing comes off. So with a lot of controllers I have found, and it's back in, the back plates fall off all the time. You may drop the remote, the back plate falls off, or if you're holding the remote, the back plate is sliding all over the place. So with the setup on this, it's phenomenal. What else is pretty phenomenal? So once you do have it connected to a TV, that TV button right here enables you to turn your TV off instantly. So that is a really great feature, separate from necessarily having to shut down your entire system. If you just want to kill the TV, you're done watching movies, you want to go to bed, you can turn that off, leaving your system on if you're downloading something, what have you. It also comes with a lot of shortcuts. Much like media remotes for the Fire Stick or Roku, you have the shortcut options for Netflix, Disney, Spotify, and YouTube. Those, of course, are big ones. The only one that I could imagine trading out for, I don't personally listen to a lot of music on my TV, but trade the Spotify out for like Prime Video, that could be neat. Other than that, the remote is really, really comprehensive. Of course, on the PS5, the voice functionality is phenomenal. So having a little microphone voice button or the voice actuator at the top of the remote is pretty neat. Reminds me of the Fire Stick, which of course the Fire Stick products are always, or the Fire line is, are pretty phenomenal products. But 10 out of 10. I love this product. The one nitpick, as I mentioned kind of in the written review, is some of the buttons. So they're all pretty much flat, with the exception of the navigation left, right, up, down, except they don't really stand out much either. So when you're thumbing the controller, it's your thumb kind of gets lost, particularly with the volume. So the volume, because they're all the way at the top and they're pretty much flat, they do have one little textured thing for probably vision impairment, accessibility kind of features on the remote. But outside of that, I find my thumb getting lost a little bit, in contrast to some remotes which may have a bezel where these controls are to kind of seat your fingers sliding back and forth. Outside of that, though, which is just a nitpick, and I'm sure will resolve itself with just moderate use, this controller is phenomenal, great product. I don't know if I would even consider doing, if you have a PS5 and you're looking for a media remote, looking at any of the other media remotes that are out there. I have any time I buy a product, I put a considerable amount of time into looking at them. But when it comes to the media remotes themselves, this being produced by Sony, presumably, they made a hell of a product, and you should definitely check it out if you're looking for a media remote for your PS5. And that's it. Check it out.